evening, ladies and gentlemen. I understand that today we're going to continue where we left off last time with questions concerning religion and psychology. So let's begin.
Mr. Branden, concerning the origin of religious belief, Sigmund Freud wrote, quote, "Psychoanalysis has made us aware of the intimate connection between the father complex and the belief in God, and has taught us that the personal God is psychologically nothing other than a magnified father. It shows us every day how young people can lose their religious faith as soon as a father authority collapses." Close quote. What is your opinion of Freud's analysis?
To begin with, one of my chief criticisms of Freud's whole methodology is a very bad tendency to overgeneralization. And I consider the following quote that you just gave a case in point. I don't doubt that for some people, their relationship toward God is a reflection of a neurosis involving their father, where there is an excessive authority put on the father's role relative to the individual. But I think it's a gross oversimplification to assume that that is the heart and essence of the religious response in all human beings everywhere at all points in history. So it isn't that Freud is not right sometimes for some people, but I don't agree as a general, universal proposition to describe the religious response in general. To begin with, there are people who have been religious who grew up without a father figure in their life, neither a literal father nor anyone else even playing that role. So that can't be essential for the religious response. I think that Freud was right in regarding religion as a neurosis, wrong in the highly oversimplified way in which he explained the relationship between religion and neurosis.
Do you find that many psychologists are reluctant to express views that might conflict with the religious beliefs of their clients? If so, to what do you attribute this?
I do indeed find it, as I've said many times, one of the, to me, most appalling facts about psychologists and psychiatrists is their relative public silence on the psychological destructiveness of religious teachings and beliefs. There are very few practicing psychologists and psychiatrists who are not aware of the unutterable amount of harm and psychological damage which is done to people by the teachings of religion, and yet you will find very little written about this. For the most part, psychologists and psychiatrists avoid the issue. They maintain a public silence, yet the majority of them are certainly not religious themselves. I'm sure that most of them are probably atheists or agnostics, or at least many, I can't say most. In every book that I have written or plan to write, I can see myself almost certainly having something to say about one aspect or another of the many ways in which religion is harmful to people. I discussed this issue in The Psychology of Self-Esteem. It came up again in Breaking Free, and it's in The Disowned Self. And now I'm doing a book on man-woman relationships, and I will have other things to say there. Just in the last few weeks in therapy, an interesting problem has arisen, dealing with a number of cases of insomnia in various groups. And we find that one of the key factors for some of the people present is the fear that if they go to sleep, they won't wake up, that in the night God will come and take them for such terrible sins as maybe having masturbated when young. Terrible sins in quotes, of course. When you think that the majority of people in this country were taught as children that truly evil prayer about "now I lay me down to sleep, and if I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take," if that wouldn't produce a lot of insomniacs, what would? Think about that truly dreadful prayer. So this is my answer on the first part of what you asked. As to the motives of the psychologists in avoiding confrontation with this issue, I have a very definite opinion on that subject. They, of course, offer many rationalizations, and I do regard them as rationalizations, such as the importance of therapists maintaining ethical neutrality, But I'm quite persuaded that one issue is involved basically, and that is cowardice on the part of the psychologists and psychiatrists. Cowardice of personally coming out against the teachings of religion. And the only other factor that doubtless influences many of them is financial, by which I mean the fear that if they challenge religious beliefs or are known to be in strong disagreement with religion or are known to be atheists, this will cause them to lose potential clients or patients who will not come to them. So they avoid the whole issue and cook up 27 different, what I describe as rationalizations to justify their avoidance, but this is really what I believe is happening. Yes?
From a psychological point of view, is there anything good that you can say about the Judeo-Christian doctrines?
Not really, by which I don't mean to suggest that none of those doctrines or none of the ideas bear any validity, but any of the ideas which are valid, such as dealing with people fairly or honestly or truthfully, are not unique or distinctive to the Judeo-Christian tradition. So there are individual features of thought that I might agree with, but I would never claim that they are uniquely attributable to that tradition. I think that we have to make a distinction between Judaism and Christianity. While I am not in agreement with either, I regard Christianity as significantly more psychologically harmful. It is a far more guilt-inducing religion. It is far more anti-sexual. It is far more opposed to the enjoyment of man's life on earth. You know, in the Jewish religion, there's virtually no heaven or hell or afterlife. It plays no role of any significance whatsoever. So that as soon as you have a religion which teaches that this earth and this life is all there is, you are already one step much closer to sanity. Of course, there are other elements in the Jewish religion that I'm not going into now that I'm not agreeing with, but I really want to make that distinction. Perhaps on the positive side, it has been argued that one of the contributions of Christianity was its alleged individualism, in that it placed paramount importance on the salvation of the individual soul. And sometimes it's claimed that this was a positive historical contribution. Perhaps there is some validity to that notion. I am not such an expert on the history of cultures as I can feel qualified to make a definitive statement. But what I do feel qualified to say is that if you look at the historical record of Christianity for nearly 2,000 years, I will say that the disaster, the tragedy, the unspeakable suffering that it brought to the human race far outweighs any possible good things that might be claimed for it or about it. When people talk about, well, whatever the negative aspects of religion were, it did have a civilizing influence on people, it did make people more moral than they would be otherwise. Anybody who puts forth this line is really evading history, because the historical record of the amount of torture, brutality, and the slaughter of millions and millions and millions of people, and the practice of the most inconceivable cruelties, all in the name of the religious tradition of Christianity, makes a mockery of the claim that Christianity made anyone moral. Rather, I say it was the permit or the moral justification or moral license for some of the worst and most barbaric atrocities that human beings have ever perpetrated on one another in the whole history of the human race.
To what do you attribute the current popularity of Christianity among young people in the so-called Jesus movement?
Well, several factors are involved, I would suspect. To begin with, among young people there is great disillusionment with the world in which they found themselves born, and the blind reaching out in many different directions. It was probably predictable that some percentage of these young people, growing disenchanted with the world as they found it,